what to include in your profile. So this is the beef of what people want to know. It's like, okay, what do I actually have to put into my profile that coaches will be interested to see? How can I market myself? So this is the first thing that college coaches are going to see when you present them, when you contact them. You're going to send them a profile. Just like in the business world, if you're trying to get a job with an employer, you're going to send them your resume. And that's going to be their first thing to see, right? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, your profile is your resume. So it's almost like how we say it, IMRecruitable is like the LinkedIn to college recruiting. So it has similarities, whereas with LinkedIn, what do you do with LinkedIn? You create an account, you upload your resume, search for jobs while, companies, businesses search to employ you as well, correct? Yeah. Same thing with IMRecruitable. So you sign up, you create your profile, and then you can start connecting with college coaches, and college coaches can also, discover you. So same idea.
Yeah. And so on that concept, if you're getting a job or you're getting recruited, college coaches or, HR staff, hires, people who are hiring you are trying to figure out if you fit the profile that they require. And so whether you're a college coach or someone in the business world hiring someone, you have a criteria. And so that resume helps determine which pile you go into, the interested pile and a potential prospect or not. So whether athletically, academically, you fit or not, they can easily see some of those attributes, right?
Yeah, and like what you want to do with your profile as well, one of the best piece of advice I can give as far as a profile is put as much information as you can. A lot of these platforms, I know ours does, there's also a additional information section. Like you were mentioning, you can, put in some stuff that you do outside of, your sport, but just fill it out as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, college coaches are coming there to recruit you, and they want to know everything about you, the whole, because again, college coaches are obviously trying to find recruits that are going to be with them for a 4-year period of time. So, I know the skill level is important, but everything else, as far as your academics, stats, and your personal information, coaches just want to know everything about you. So make sure you just fill it up as much as possible, and you'll get more exposure that way, and you'll get discovered even quicker.
Yeah, you make good points. And, I've done a number of talks over the years where I've actually written it out on a whiteboard. And so let's play a little scenario here, John, so we can give people the full understanding of what the power of the profile is that, okay, so I'm going to play the role of the college coach and you're going to play the role of the athlete. Okay. So as a coach, you're going to, every year and throughout the year, depending on your recruiting, how it's going, you're going to have a board up or a list of requirements that you and your coaching staff are going to go through and say, look, if I'm a football player or a football coach, for example, I'm going to say, look, we need to get a new running back, and we need a starting running back because our starter is a senior or he's going to be going to the pros or whatever the case may be. We need a running back. We also need a linebacker. We also need a safety. Okay. Our school requires our football players to have, a certain SAT score in order to attend them. Like there's no ifs and buts about that. If they don't have that minimum score or better, we cannot even consider them as a potential recruit.
Right.
Hey, now for the running back position, we need our running back to have these attributes and these skill sets athletically. Great. Okay. And then on the academic side, again, more than the SAT, we also need a certain GPA, certain classes, and they have to fit the major. And they may have a number of requirements based on what the school requires and what the team requires. And so if the coach has a list of those and the whole staff, that way when they get that piece of paper, right, when they get that resume, that profile, they can quickly sift through it and say, does this person meet our minimum requirements academically and athletically?
Right.
And what else do they have to offer? As you said, the more information, the better in that profile. And so, yes, this looks like a potential good recruit. Good. I'm going to move this kid to the potential prospect column, of my recruiting. if you do not have those, what it means is it doesn't put you in the I'm not interested pile. It just puts you in the I can't recruit you at this time pile. Because if that athlete ends up getting the minimum requirements that they need, they now go into the interested pile. That's why like college coaches aren't so keen to say no to players right away. They are just going to say, I'm not pursuing you at this time. But if you happen to get to this level or you happen to come up with these grades, I could potentially look at you.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And just to jump in on that note, I mean, when you are filling in your profile, when it comes to, you know, your athletic stats as well as your academic stats, you always want to be honest. Okay. So don't put a 4.0 GPA if you're a 3.5. You know, when it comes to your athletic stat, don't, you know, put in certain stats depending on which sport you're at a higher level when you're not, because at the end of the day, this is just a waste of time for yourself, and it's not going to help you in the long run. Like you said, these platforms, especially what coaches can do in these platforms like IMRecruitable, they can go in and they can filter certain requirements, right? So if there's a specific school, you know, this goes for a lot of it comes down to the academics as well, admissions process, right? So if you need a certain GPA to even be able to go to a certain university or college, the coach is going to have to filter that. So they're looking for a 3.5 or higher GPA or 3.8 or whatever the case is, as well as the athletic stats. You know, they can filter them. So if they're looking for a specific recruit, they're going to filter. And if, you know, again, like you said, with, you know, the sheet, they're going to find their specific recruits that they're going to filter, and then they're going to be able to put it in a certain pile where these specific recruits qualify to come either, you know, play with my program and come to my school. So as far as putting in incorrect stats, it could just hurt you obviously in the long run because you might not qualify for the school. So always put your real stats in, and it's never too early. You can always update your stats. So if you're, you know, a sophomore or a junior, you put in your initial stat. You know, you might not like your current SAT score, let's say, but that's what you currently have. You know, you want to put your SAT score in, or your ACT score, and then if you retake it again, you just update it. And coaches also like to see the improvement there, right? They know that you've taken it before. You know, you got 1100 on the SAT, you took it for a second time, you got a 1300. And now you can qualify for specific schools where you couldn't before.
Well, let's address that a little bit further. Is sometimes players don't want to put in the stats that they have currently because they feel like it's going to stop the coach from ever recruiting them. Again, there's such thing as being on track, you know, and being on track may be, you could be a sophomore or even a junior, and you can have, for example, an SAT score of 1200, and let's say the requirement is 1250 for that school, and that there's no real bending the rules on that for the coach. Well, you're 50 points away. So what does that tell the coach? Hey, well, they've got the athletic ability to play for my team. They have everything, but they got a 1200. Now, if they took it again, could they get a 1250? Probably. If they studied and if they made it happen, then great, I could recruit them. So showing coaches your real stats also can be an advantage, because even though it may not meet the requirement today, you're on track to meeting the requirement, which gets them even more interested in you because they want to know that you're close, versus somebody who doesn't show anything, because then they have no clue. I've seen that time and time again from college coaches, like not giving the time of day to a kid yet until they see some statistics, because at least they can say, well, you're real close, so I can work with this kid.
Right.
And as opposed to not knowing at all, then you're just completely going in blind. And at that point, a lot of coaches don't even want to start the process. So you got to be honest, because you're only cheating yourself. As you said, John, you have to put in the real stats, but putting them in doesn't hurt you either. It can only help you. And if you are a senior and you're late in the process, well, wouldn't you love to know that, hey, it's super late now in the process. I'm, halfway through senior year or whatever it is. And, I've got this SAT score. I have these grades. Like, it is what it is at that point. So you're only going to get to go where you're going to get to go. You're not fooling anybody there either.
Right. And you have to understand, I mean,
to do it.
Yeah. And your profile is everything combined. It's not just how your highlight video, let's say, it's not just what your test scores were. It's not just what your athletic stats are. It's everything combined as a whole, right? So coaches are looking for the overall package.
Yeah. And people might not, it's not the answer you necessarily want to hear, but as we said, IMRecruitable TV is no BS. There's no filter here. We're just going to give it to you as it is. And to be honest, like, we're here to help and motivate. But the answer is that get started early. Make sure you start early so that coaches, if they do contact you junior year, hopefully summer going into junior year or at the beginning of junior year, that you have time to make the improvements because you're being honest, because your profile is completed till today, and you have given them the information they want. You have the best opportunity to get to the best schools because you're not waiting till senior year and then reality kicks in. And that's when you're going to get the harsh reality of it is what it is.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I would love to have the chance to improve. So if I had 1,000 on my SAT and I wanted to go to a certain school and the requirement from the coach and the school is 1,200, I'd like to know, I'd like to have as much time as possible to get to 200. I may never get to the 200 extra points, but at least I got the chance to do it rather than figuring that out senior year and then realizing, crap, you know what? I got one chance to do it. Pressure's on me. How am I going to make it happen?
Yeah. I got you. And with the profile as well, just a couple more things to add here. One important thing is your contact information. Okay. So when it comes to the contact information, you always want to leave, the proper contact, whether it's your email. I mean, you want to leave all of it. So your email, cell phone number, home telephone number, just leave the contact information where a coach can actually get a hold of you. Okay. So whether you've created a specific email just for your recruiting, make sure you're checking it every single day because that's the one you have on your profile. You should put your cell phone there, athlete cell phone. Okay. Let the coaches contact the athlete directly. Okay. And make sure you're, responding, again, being respectful, picking up the phone and replying to your text messages, whatever the case is. Just always, check on a daily basis because you don't want to miss any, coaches trying to contact you and then you just disappear on them. Another important thing on the...
let's go into the different aspects and we'll talk about them.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, no problem.
So let's go into what goes in the profile and so on. So that's important. Okay, so you have to have a profile picture, right? And you got to put a face to the name.
Right.
So everyone needs to know it. And I know a lot of people like to give action shots. So if you're going to put multiple pictures, I guess that's fine. But college coaches aren't really looking for your action shots. They're really looking for a profile picture where you can clearly see, your face smiling.
Right.
And they can, if they see you at an event or you come for a visit or whatever the case may be, now they've put a face to the name.
Right.
The second thing is your video, which is probably, arguably the most important part of your player profile is showing off your skills. So putting together a highlight video, and this depends on the sport that you play. We on IMRecruitable, you can go to IMRecruitable.com and we have some tidbits of information there that gives you how to create a video for your specific sport. Every sport's a little bit different, the requirements, but putting together a highlight video or having a recruitment video is extremely important. But regardless of what video, specifications depending on your sport, you have to make sure that the video is real, that you're not just showcasing your amazing catches or your amazing shots and plays, because you have to show some of your weaknesses as well as
or like an edit every 30 seconds, right? You see the videos where kids are just editing every 30 seconds and it's just their actual full highlights of them, with the good plays they're making. But you need to have match play as well. So whether it's a basketball game, football, tennis, you want to have full match play where you are also making some mistakes at the same time, because you're obviously not Mr. Perfect.
That's right. Everybody's human. Coaches like to see your strengths and your weaknesses, because they know you have both. And
Right.
so you're not, again, and the video is showing your skill set. Of course, you want to display, some of the great things that you can do, your athleticism and stuff like that. But they're also going to look at the stats and look at some other game footage, and hopefully they'll come to watch you play, in a game, and that's going to help them determine whether you're somebody they want to recruit or not.
Right.
But initially, giving them some footage can definitely get them excited and interested in wanting to recruit you.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is the key stats. So your sports statistics. This includes like your height, your weight, your position, your club team records, your personal statistics, your high school coach's reference, any additional information. So this is where you really get to talk to the coaches, show the coaches what results you have and what you've been doing over the last few years. Coaches obviously want to see the most recent statistics. Nothing wrong with showing everything you've done from grade 9 forward, and it depends where you are in the process. But if you're, a junior or senior, you got to show at least the most recent downwards. And you got to, John, you talked about being honest, right, about this stuff.
Yep.
So this is important for you to continue to, again, if you put in statistics, you should be putting in links, as many as possible. So if your club team has like an online, a website where they put all the stats up, you want to put in the links there. You can download PDFs and so on. But even if
back up your stats.
Yeah, even if you're writing stuff out, you gotta, coaches will search it. They know where to go. They know where to find it. Next thing that's really important is your academics, right? And so that's putting in what high school you go to, what are your current grades. When we were talking about grades earlier, transcripts are really, really important, crucial. So you have to back everything up, like John just said, which is if you're going to put in your GPA, the coaches want to see grade 9 to current, your unofficial transcripts that you should be able to upload. So if you're using a good online platform, they're going to have that ability to do so.
It's mandatory because coaches are going to ask for it regardless. So like you said, if it's a good platform online, then they should have that option where you can add in your transcripts or even your SAT scores, PDF files and things like that, because every single coach is going to ask for it. It's just automatic.
Right. They need to back it up. Not only do they need to see it, but they need to walk that down to admissions. And
Right.
So nowadays, when it comes to recruiting, when you're sending your profile, if your unofficial transcripts from grade 9 to current are not in that profile that the coaches receive, that makes it very difficult. They're going to ask for that right away. Same thing if you've taken the SAT or ACT test, and if you're an international student, you've done the TOEFL, they want to see the PDF. And a lot of kids ask me, where do I get that? Well, you receive a report for your SAT, your actual, or your ACT and your TOEFL. You actually receive a report, and you can actually download that from the websites. For example, SAT on College Board, you can download the PDF of your test results, and that is what coaches want. So you have to include that as well, and that needs to be walked down to admissions as part of your file. Intended major is very, very important as well. Adding in the major or majors that you plan to study is super important, because if you're going to a coach and you're contacting them showing interest in that college and they don't have the major you want to study, well, it's immediately not a school for you. So the coach won't pursue you, or will let you know that the major isn't offered, and you won't want to bother going to that school if that's
Right.
the case. But if you're in this situation where you're undecided, then you should also have the option there to put undecided. And in that case, you could be pursuing all the schools, and they could technically be pursuing you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's important to let them know if you have made choices or a choice on a major you want to study, even if it's, hey, I want to study business, but you don't know if you want to study management, accounting, whatever. It's still important to put the area of study, right?
Yeah, and also from the athlete themselves. So when they are on their profiles, again, depending on which platform, but some of them, like ours, it allows you to filter, by majors. So if you're set on a major, for example, like biomedical engineering, okay, not every school has biomedical engineering. So you should filter that on your platform, and it will bring up which schools have this major. So if you're strict on that, then those are the schools you need to be targeting, because targeting any other school or vice versa, a coach from another school, it's just a waste of time, right? Because you should be focusing on the schools that offer your major and that you're set on going to.
Yeah, and there's majors like the one you just mentioned, biomedical engineering and aero, tons of majors out there that are very specialized, and you'd be surprised at the limited number of schools that offer it. Plus,
right, exactly.
While other majors that are more vague, liberal arts, business, etc., you pretty much have all the options.
Right.
Okay, the next thing is your NCAA or NAI eligibility number. So again, adding that information is important if you've registered already, and we encourage people to do so as soon as possible. But having that information is important for coaches, because they'll be able to, again, when they add you to a potential recruit roster, they have a list that they have to submit and make sure it's on file with compliance, especially at the Division 1, 2 level, that they can continue the process with you. If they're going to invite you for an official visit and so on, they're going to need that information. So again, the more information you give, the better it is. So giving that information just saves you and the coach time afterwards by exchanging emails, and they have everything right there. The other section is adding other academic information. Under the academic section is like your senior year classes. So if you're in senior year, you want to write out the senior year classes that you'll be taking. Coaches, admissions, they need to know that, especially at the higher academic schools. So again, putting that information there, whether a coach needs it or not right away, it's available to them, as well as any honors and awards you've won. These are important things that can only help you and eliminates any more conversation rather than them asking you, do you have this, do you have that? It's all there for them.
Right.
So the next thing is your athlete info and personal statement. You started discussing this, is the contact information, making sure that you've given the right information, and that your email is an email that you check every day, all the time. It's on your phone. I mean, we all have one of these. There's no reason why you should not be able to respond or receive notifications and emails right away. There's no reason why you shouldn't be giving out your cell phone number and having a WhatsApp account or whatever it is that you need to make sure that you can respond to coaches and they can get a hold of you as quickly as possible. We live in this digital world. Communication is 24/7. And if you're not on top of it, some other kid is, and they're going to take your spot, because, nobody's just going to wait around. Make sure that you have a number that they can access, and, it's in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
The other thing is legal name. That's really important. Not for everybody, but for some people. I know a bunch of people go with nicknames. That's cool. I've always had a nickname. John, you've had nicknames growing up, still do, same here. But you got to give the name that's associated with your sport, how you register, what's associated with your academics. Everything's got to match up. I've seen too many times when it doesn't match up, and it creates a lot of confusion for the coaches and for the administration at the university. So you can always write in your resume your legal name, in your profile there, and then you can put in brackets like your nickname or underneath it. Right. There's always a place to put your nickname, whatever you want to be called, or you tell the coach or whoever you're writing them, when you write them, you put your signature in there and you say, this is the name, I prefer to be called by. Cool.
Or you can put that in your personal statement as well, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Putting it anywhere you can let people know. But I think on the profile, you have to have your legal name.
Yeah.
making sure your grad year and college enrollment is updated. So having the correct grad year, super important. It's too easy to write 2021 instead of 2020. Sometimes you're on a drop down, sometimes you're typing. You can make an error, but you got to make sure that your grad year is correct, your high school grad year. And you got to make sure that you also include your enrollment semester. There are a lot of athletes that take time off and choose not to go right away to college or take a semester off. Could be due to many reasons, injuries. For example, COVID right now, people are taking time off. It could be it's a number of reasons that can change the time when you plan to enroll. Coaches need to know that so that they can either advise you on the rules and what they can do for you, but also understand, your timeline so that it makes it clear for them. I believe that there's something that most people leave out. And that's one thing that I was really big on to include in the IMRecruitable platform is we not only have a spot where you put your grad year, but we have this college enrollment. So you can put in fall 2021, spring, which means January 2022, et cetera, et cetera. And that even if that differs, coaches can sort and search by that.
Right.
The last thing on your profile that's really important is a personal statement. So, John, what are your thoughts on the personal statement?
Yeah, I mean, adding your personal statement definitely helps the coaches identify your personality. So what interests you have in life outside of your sport, coaches want to really get to know you. Due to COVID, obviously, there's, if not any showcases happening where coaches, prefer to, come see the recruits face to face. Right now, they're doing Zoom calls, right? So a lot of Zoom calls are happening now. A lot of digital things are happening. Platforms are being used. This is where coaches are at, but they want to know who they're recruiting as a person. So you could be the best, baseball player, but you could have a very bad attitude. And again, a coach is trying to find, as much as the athlete is trying to find the best fit school, the coach is also trying to find the best fit athlete that's going to get along with them as far as from a coaching aspect, personal aspect, as well as getting along with the team is very important, So again, just putting a personal statement, talking about yourself, letting them know your interests, what you do outside of your sport, what your hobbies are, things like this. It's very important because the coach is going to ask you these questions anyways. It's just better for them when they're coming onto your profile. They like to see this, and at least they have something that they can talk to you about right away, and the conversation is a lot easier. Oh, okay, you like the Chicago Bulls. Have you seen like the Jordan documentary? Whatever the case is, it's easier to start the conversation that way as well, and they can relate to a lot of things as well that you do outside of your sport.
Yeah, that's some really, really good points. So getting to know your personality, as you said, and the things that you like to do with your sport, your goals outside of your sport, anything and everything is important to get to know somebody, right? Because you're potentially recruiting this person and building a relationship. A lot of people like to talk about recruiting as like dating or, trying to speed date or blind dating. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get a feel for the coach and the team. The coach is getting a feel for you. How are you going to mesh with my team? Maybe like you said, John, if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, maybe there's 5 Chicago Bulls fans on the team, and that's cool. And that, gives a conversation starter, as well as maybe that could be something that shows that you fit with a group of guys or girls on a team, and other little things like that. Plus, I think putting in your goals as an athlete and as a student, right? And just in general are very, very important, because I would love, if I'm recruiting a kid, I want kids that are hungry. I want, it also fits my style. If I'm coaching, I want those kids that get their hands dirty and they want to work hard and they want to hustle and they want to just work and earn it. And so if I hear in a resume and a personal statement that that's what's going on and that's the type of kid they are, that excites me. Yeah,
of course. Well, it can be a difference maker. So again, no BS. I I talk to, I mean, we both talk to coaches all the time. You know, we have coaches that are our friends. You know, if it's a difference between recruiting me or recruiting you, Tarek, okay? So Tarek, you're, you know, you're a better athlete than I am. Stats show it. You know, I'm not too far behind you, right? But you are a better athlete than I am, but your attitude's sour, okay? Me, I'm very fun. You know, I can laugh with people, easygoing. I get on the team. Everyone's, you know, enjoying my company. And then you, on the other hand, are kind of like, again, like, you know, not too approachable, you know, don't like many things outside of your sport. And, you know, if I was a coach, if I'm trying to fill up a spot, like, to be honest with you, I would rather go with the slightly lower level athlete, but I know he's going to bring joy to my program and he's going to be with me for 4 years, and I'm not going to have any headaches or have to deal with any side issues from this athlete, than taking you, who's going to, you know, has that, you know, better, can perform better on my team, but again, won't get along with the team and can, you know, cause issues, as we, you know, we both know that happens.
Yeah. And I think that is, again, the reality of college sports is, you know, outside of a group of schools that are competing for national championships and are developing players to go to the pros, which we all know is a handful, everybody else is looking to provide a great student athlete experience. And it starts with the athletic directors all the way down, who would attest to what you just said. And that's what they're telling the coaches. Look, I don't want a kid that's going to come on my team. I don't care if they're amazing and they're going to make us 2 spots, you know, better in the standings, or, you know, even if they're going to help us win a conference championship. Yes, do we want that? But if it's a kid who's going to be toxic environment, create problems for the rest of the team, create problems for the coach, potentially give the school a bad name, misrepresent us, then we don't want it. Because we're here to develop good student athletes. And what does a student athlete really do? They come, they perform, they represent your school well, they go off to do great things, and then they give back to the school and talk great about it, and they become your ambassadors.
They continue to represent the school.
Exist,
exactly.
Right?
Yep.
That's why non-revenue sports exist. You know, outside of football and basketball, you're not making money on the other sports, if much at all. A lot of times zero. So you're funding them. Why are you going to fund something that's toxic?
Right.